This is a very sad day for all of us. I just woke up on a call informing me that 49 people have been gunned down in 2 mosques in New Zealand by someone who believes in white supremacy and believes in the fact that what he has been told, what he has heard, that immigrants are invaders. Let me say this. We mourn the loss of these 49 innocent people who were standing in sincere worship of God in 2 mosques. And we offer sincere condolences to their families and their loved ones. And we condemn this horrific attack as a terrorist attack, motivated and carried out by white supremacists. And we urge mosques nationwide, because today is a Friday, and Friday is the weekly prayer for Muslims nationwide. In the United States, we have over 3,000 mosques. So millions of people who are Muslim will be in mosques in the next couple of hours, concerned and fearful about their lives. If someone might come and hurt them, they have very legitimate fears. And they are being told to be afraid by white supremacists and political leaders who believe in white supremacy. And we tell our community, do not be afraid and do not abandon your mosques. Not today, not ever. They want you to be afraid. You should not be afraid. You should be protected. You have religious freedom protected by the United States Constitution. And we have full confidence in local and federal authorities to provide the necessary security and assurance for our communities to go in mosques to mosques and not to be afraid, not to be concerned about their safety and the safety of their families or children while they are praying. And we ask our political leaders to address the growing menace of Islamophobia and hate that has been perpetrated by political leaders, by ideologues, by people who want to run for public office, by people who won public office on the backs of immigrants, blacks, Jews, Muslims, and all minorities. We hold them accountable because their words matter. Their policies matter. The perpetrator of this terrorist attack has been inspired by hate mongers in the United States and in Europe. The perpetrator of this horrific and terrorist attack today referenced President Trump in his manifesto. Today, the terrorist has quoted the most powerful person in the world, President Trump. And I would like to address Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, your words matter. Your policies matter. They impact the lives of innocent people at home and globally. And you should condemn this, not only as a hate crime, but as a white supremacist terrorist attack. And you need to assure all of us, Muslims, blacks, Jews, immigrants, that we are protected and you will not tolerate any physical violence against us because we are immigrants or we are minority. You need to condemn this clearly today. And you do not need to be you do not need to be vague. You have to be very clear on this. And we are looking forward to hearing from you because your policies matter. During your presidency and during your election campaign, Islamophobia took a sharp rise, and attacks on innocent Muslims, innocent immigrants and mosques have skyrocketed. We hold you responsible for this growing anti-Muslim sentiment in the country and in Europe. But also, we do not excuse those terrorist attackers against minorities at home and abroad. Our message is and should be one. We are united in solidarity. We will not tolerate division. We have to stand next to each other. In the same way, we stood with our Jewish brothers and sisters after they were attacked while worshiping in the Tree of Life synagogue. In the same way also, we stood by our African American brothers and sisters when they were worshiping in the South Carolina Emmanuel African Church. This is the message, that we are united, and we are also united against the Trojan ideology that sees immigrants as invaders. We should not tolerate this hate speech, because hate speech leads to violence. And politicians can set a tone of tolerance and unity, and they can also set the tone of division and violence. And now we are looking at the results of hate speech and propaganda against the Muslim minority.
Read the manifesto. It's clear that this individual who wrote it wants to sow division. The very purpose of this act of violence was to sow division and to create hatred and to promote the people separating and fighting each other. And obviously, as Brother Nihad said, the answer to that is to come together in unity and solidarity. Otherwise, this terrorist or the terrorist group behind him ends up winning.
And what we can confirm is that there is a consistent rise, as there has been a rise in anti-Semitism, attacks of anti-Semitism and others. There's been a consistent rise in anti-Muslim bias incidents and hate crimes and attacks against Muslims at mosques. And although this seems to go unreported or unnoticed in media, our offices around the country get reports on a regular basis of harassments as innocuous or as sort of day-to-day banal things like people getting harassed in grocery stores, in streets, or getting chased down on highways, to as terrible as murders, you know, in Indiana just a couple of weeks ago that no national press actually covered. And so it's absolutely necessary that we don't wait until we have horrific situations like this, horrific incidents of kind of global importance, to pay attention to this issue. I'll be quite honest, right now it seems to be the case that we only look at fires, but we smell the burning smoke from miles and miles away and we ignore it. We say, oh, there's some burning smoke, there might be something, and we only pay attention when the fire is brought directly into our face. I'll say that the fire is there, it's brewing, it's international, and it has a source, it has a cause, it has a structure to it. And so the one thing that we have to pay attention to, I'll depart from conversations about statistics for just a second, is we have to pay attention to the ideology that breeds this kind of activity. Hate has the same DNA everywhere that you see it. Okay? Hate has the same DNA everywhere that you see it. It has the same goals in mind. The same pathological ideologies that exist in this manifesto, which God forbid you would actually take the time to read, exist in the manifestos of other mass murderers around the world. They are directly related to ideas that are carried out in certain quarters in our own society, that exist in radio shows, that exist in TV shows, that have dog whistles by mainstream politicians, by mainstream news commentators. And so we have to recognize that that is the smoke, that is the burning smoke that's out there that tells us where the fire is. And we, as a community, have to take control and leadership back in our public space. It is not the case that this is some random marginal activity on the internet in some kind of close dark web or something. No, this stuff is mainstream now. Hate has the same DNA. You can recognize it where it is, and you have to put a stop to it. We have to ask our TV networks to be responsible. We have to ask our social media platforms to be responsible. We have to ask our charities and philanthropic communities to be responsible and not allow these people to guide, to exploit freedom of speech, exploit nonprofit covers. These are hate groups, special interest groups with a very nefarious agenda, and we have to be able to take that activity back.
It's a first step, but I think his words are hollow. He has to condemn this as a white supremacist terrorist attack. And he has to commit that policies will follow, change of policies. Otherwise, we will continue to see the rise of anti-immigrant sentiment and attacks, anti-Muslim sentiment and attacks, and we will see, unfortunately, more violence against places of worship at home and abroad.
Hi, for Mr. Watt as well. The author of the manifesto, to the question of whether he supports Donald Trump, he said, as a symbol of renewed white identity and common purpose, sure. But he also said, as a policymaker and leader, dear God, no. So it seems like he himself at least didn't see himself as being led by Donald Trump. You said Donald Trump
Well,
was
I think it.
responsible for the attack.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible this man could have come to these conclusions without a President Donald Trump?
Well, you always have hatred and bigotry out there. What Donald Trump has done, he has given legitimacy, a fake legitimacy to hatred and bigotry, and it has empowered bigotry. And we see that time and time again around the country with the incidents we see on a daily basis. But
No. I mean, many white supremacist attacks on the American Muslim community, the attackers cite Trump and cite his policy. So I don't think any one of us should be surprised that what he says and what he does impacts the attitudes and actions of people, not only at home, but now abroad. And now this anti-immigrant sentiment is globalized. And the leader of the free world has a lot of responsibilities. He should not minimize the importance of his words and his actions and his policies.
And of course, no one's saying that every follower of Donald Trump is a bigot, but there's going to be that tiny minority who take his bigoted words and bigoted policies and turn them into violent actions.